the Consolidated Commission on Utilities. It's our regular monthly meeting. I have the time is 5:36. For the record, those present are myself, Commissioner Chaco, Commissioner Sanchez, Commissioner Martinez. Commissioner Santos is excused. So we'll go straight to the order of the business. John, we're going to let GPA go first because you only have 3 resolutions. One's a joint resolution. So, John, the floor is yours.
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Chris and GWA for letting GPA go first today. So,
Age before beauty.
it has some benefits, right? That's fine. I'll
Seniority.
take it. Seniority. Anyway, Mr. Chair, thank you. Guam Power Authority has 3 resolutions for your consideration tonight. As we had noted in the work session last week that we recommend dropping the LEAC earlier than planned. Under normal circumstances, we will have to put in our application to the PUC by June of June of this year. And so, let me just go through briefly the reasons why and what the changes, because we did make a slight change from last week's presentation. Okay. First of all, let's start from the beginning. Yeah, the fuel prices, as you can see, are coming down. It's still not anywhere yet close to where it was before in about mid-2021 when it started to rise, and most especially in 2022 when we had to raise the rates. No, but again, it's been coming down. As you can see here, 133 versus what it was 172. Next. And as far as diesel, again, we went aside 168, we're down to 113. What we're used to is about $90 a barrel before everything got, start going north. The Morgan Stanley is what's used to project forward. So the PUC's protocol is to use this, so at least there's some consistency in our effort in terms of oil prices projection. No, so we use that so many days before. And as an update, no? 5-day average. Next. The LEAC, as you can see, has been always rising and falling, and at the same time impacts the total bill. As far as the base rate has been continuously has been the same since 2012-2013 period of time. No? Next. Under recovery, as you can see here, we got up as high as 47 million, and that's when we had to really try and buckle in and raise the rates because we couldn't afford. We were getting to the point where we couldn't afford to pay the tanker. The tanker fuel now is somewhere around $30+ million for a shipment. No? Next. So the LEAC that we're proposing from naturally last week we talked about May, but unfortunately there's not enough time to provide the notice for the agenda
For the PUC.
Yeah. And so therefore we adjusted it to be effective June 1st. However, we also adjusted the price from the 25 cents that was there for the implementation on May 1st down to 24.8145, which results about a 22% drop in the LEAC, and on an average residential bill, about 17% of the total bill. So this drop would total about $70 on an average residential consumer's bill, no, beginning June 1st. And just in time for the summer months, because that's when the consumption is higher, because normally the air conditioners work harder during the summertime. So May, June, July, August, and September. No? Next. So here's the breakdown again of average residential, assuming about 1,000 kilowatt hours. Here's your 22 on the LEAC and 17 on about 17% on the total bill. Next. In terms of the under recovery, as you can see, as of February, it was 27, 24. We expect by the end of this, the total as of March is 24 million under recovery. We expect by the end of April drop to 17, and of course because we have also May to be included as still under the old LEAC rate, we're going to see that drop from about 17 down to about 9. And then the recovery is slowed down tremendously until it zeroes out about January of 2023. Zero meaning if everything stays the same here, $10,000 only, which would be basically levelized, no? Basically a zero balance. And so that's it, Mr. Chair. As for your approval for the LEAC, we will file the petition.
Is there a motion? So move? Second. Second? Okay.
Just quick
Mr.
question.
Sanchez.
It's
Commissioner
just
Sanchez.
I think it's just a typo, or maybe I'm not reading it. Page 2 of the resolution, line 10. Talks about, based on projections, proposed LEAC rate of 0.24845 kilowatt hour is about 10,000. Is that $10,000?
Well, we estimate by January 31st, the over recovery should be about $10,000 balance.
Over recovery, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then, because we're going to hold this till, well, we're going to hold this just one more month, right, to the end of February. So it might be a little, hard to say. I mean, at least we will have recovered all the money by basically the end of December. Maybe a small over recovery of just $10,000 in January. In January, right? So that's essentially we're back. So that's that where I was confused. The wording is correct. It's about $10,000. You didn't write the words out. You just dollar next. Oh, yeah, 10.
Yes,
Should we put in the
10.
word?
It's $10,000. Yeah, we should put it to
$10,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, just minor amendment to add the word dollars after the word thousand on line 10 of page 2.
10,000.
I think that was repeated.
That's that amendment you're making?
Yeah, I made a motion to amend line
Okay,
10
is there a
on
second
page
to
2.
that amendment?
Add the word dollars.
There's a second to that amendment?
That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Motion.
Any further discussion?
Well, we're gonna do. Can we amend it first?
Yeah. No, I just want to make sure, does anybody else have anything to say? Nothing? Okay, on the amendment, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes. Okay, now on the main motion,
Great news for our ratepayers.
yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 aye votes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, next one is Gpwa Resolution 2023-17. And this is relative to the approval for conducting the pre-development study for liquefied natural gas under the EPCA M contract. As noted in the work session, the plan for Okudu has always been for to be able to fire dual fire diesel and liquid natural gas. The pipeline from Cabras to Okudu is constructed with 2 pipelines, one for diesel and one for natural gas. So as was conducted in 2011, it looked feasible for us to go to natural gas, although again it still has to be vetted, but more importantly, the study has to be updated and see, again, find the best location, provide the best recommendation as to the type of storage facility that we're going to use to make this happen. In addition to that, look at all the pricing and all of the different. So there are actually 4 phases of this project, but we're only going to be conducting the first phase, which is to update the study, the location, and making sure that we identified all the necessary loopholes or issues that have to be addressed during that. The total cost for the study is about 1.809 million, and again, the net result of all of this is that if we do go and when we do go to natural gas, bringing in liquid natural gas after we have paid for the storage facility, whether it's a floating storage or actual storage or on-land storage, shipping costs and product, you're looking at about a $35 million savings for the ratepayer with natural gas, thus on fuel costs. And in addition to that, a reduction in the operating and maintenance costs of Okudu Power Plant by $11 million. So the total savings write-off will be about $46 $46 million for burning natural gas. And so the process is again to begin and go there.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Is the 35 million based on today's, like the LEAC we just approved? If we were at natural gas, what would we,
That
or
was
maybe that's a
based-
number you can give us at the next meeting. I'm just curious. At the LEAC, we've now got it back to a number where we're going to be fully recovered. It got rid of the 45 million. You know, we've been doing LEAC plus for a couple of years now to get the 45 million back. That's now gone. So we have a more true LEAC rate, although you're still doing some recovery. I'm just curious that maybe at the next meeting, when you said 36 million, is that per year? Is that compared
Yeah,
to the
per
price
year.
we're paying now?
For you.
Um,
I'll just add a little bit, and I will run the numbers again. But basically, when we were comparing this, it was at $90 a barrel diesel. It was about a $30 a barrel differential in equivalency in terms of natural gas. So again, the market will float or
Float.
yeah. So,
But it was based on
and,
the $90 a barrel we were paying.
when
for-
diesel goes to the ceiling, then that's when because the multiplier of the diesel is much higher. It's like $15-25 per million BTU.
in LNG.
LNG which go from $3 to maybe $8 or $9. So there's some huge swing in the multiplier. No? So,
What we've always hoped to happen. That's why it's a dual fuel plant.
yep, and we'll get the study going to really make sure everyone's on the same page again.
Motion to approve resolution FY 2023-17.
Okay, so second? Second, Commissioner Sanchez. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries with 5-4. I vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last agenda item for us is a joint resolution between Gpwa and Gpwa for merchant banking. And I'll turn that over to John.
Yes.
Our merchant service with the First Land Bank, it will be expiring this month. So we did get an extension to June to provide rate until that. So the GWA, GPA, and Guam Solid Waste will be in this boat together.
Does GSWA compensate us, or how does that work?
They just so this is a bid process where they whatever rate we get, they're about to use that rate.
So GSWA did a bid, or they just piggybacked on our
They're
bid?
just piggybacking on it.
So their board passed a resolution saying, instead of putting out a bid, let GPA do it and piggyback?
They did last time, a year ago. They did a resolution to back with.
So they're just harnessing the purchasing power of all of the combined sales
Yes.
purchases for merchant services.
Yes, since the volume is higher, they're assuming we'll get better.
We got a better deal.
But it doesn't obligate either agency to one another. It doesn't cost anything to either agency.
So each agency will have their own contract.
Merchant service.
But whatever we approve, GSWA is just approves it. Anyway, that's a board process. Yes. That's good.
So that's this, now this, there's a motion?
Yeah. So motion to approve GPA or the joint resolution FY 2023-18 and 25-FY 2023.
Second? Any further discussion? No?
Just one
Sure,
last thing,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair. The last of the Programa de Salapit has already been loaded to the ratepayers account for the April. So we have received the money from DOA and it has been loaded to the account. Bill 83 or 85, I believe, had a public hearing, so we did go in to support it. And, it would be a good thing for the ratepayers if they get past that also. That's one that we did testify in favor of it.
So customers seeing their bill for May, they'll start to.
It's loaded.
Because the way we do it is kind of confusing.
Yeah, it's
right?
loaded
So
in
negative
April,
credit
which means they'll
freaks
get
them out.
100, whether it's
For the
on
next
the
bill.
books or in the next run, it still roll.
Yeah, but I mean, we reassure them, Tracy reassures them that they're getting their $500.
Yep,
It's just,
yep.
Commissioner, if ratepayers log into paygpa.com right now, they will see the $100 credit applied to their account. Most customers have already received their April billing statement, so the April credit is not yet applied. They will see it in May on their May billing statement.
and it'll be in the negative, it'll be a minus 100 in the credit box.
No arrears.
I mean, we've had our billing forever, and it's been the most unusual time we've gone through with COVID, where actually a legislature and the governor were able to step forward and say, hey, I'm going to give GPA to give money to their ratepayers. And so I appreciate that when we set this up, you know, and long before John had darker hair and I had hair, we never imagined the government of Guam actually giving a credit from the general fund to the ratepayers. So, it does create some confusion. But we you know, Tracy gets on the radio, we get on the radio and say, we reassure everybody that the money is being applied to your account. Tracy's just described that you can go look for it now, but this is the final month that it will be applied, and then we'll see what the legislature, if they wish to extend it. There's been some discussion, you know, money, they're battling for money now. Now, compact impact money is getting pulled, and there's another there's a LEAP 2 they're trying to fund, and they're trying to fund another credit. So the discussion I heard from the legislature was maybe instead of 5 months, it might only be 3 months or 2 months, because we're also lowering the LEAC, right? So we'll see. I mean, obviously, everyone wants to help the ratepayers. It's just a matter of where do you find the assistance. At least the LEAC is a big step forward in assisting our ratepayers. And then if the legislature is able to come up with the funds, whether it's for 3 months, 2 months, 5 months, you know, that would also be good. But that's above our pay scale.
Yeah,
We'll see what they do.
including our second largest customer, GWA. There's probably about a $2-3 million drop in here, you know, in the LEAC for them. So.
We give
Thank
them
you,
a
Chris,
credit.
for
Okay,
letting me go tonight.
We give them a
Wait,
credit.
wait, wait. John, hold on a second, John. We didn't vote yet on this
Oh,
resolution.
okay.
There was some discussion. Commissioner Sanchez, of course, wanted to discuss something, which is fine. But hold on, we need to, any further discussion? No? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Before I vote, now you're done.
Good news. Chris will get us out of here quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And John. And Tracy and everybody. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we go back to GWA. Chris, the
Thank you,
floor
Mr.
is yours.
Chairman. First item on the agenda is Resolution 20-FY23, and this is relative to the approval of the IDIQ implementation of the district metered area design and CM contract. This resolution is seeking to, over the past 2 years, GWA has been working with a consultant, WSO, to develop a water loss control program and district meter area implementation plan. And part of that implementation plan requires that we construct several district metered areas throughout our water system, 36 to be exact. We advertised and solicited qualified engineering firms. The indefinite quantity for engineering, design, and construction for this district metered areas. The design work includes civil, mechanical engineering, instrumentation work, vaults, piping, earthworks, etc. 17 firms registered for the RFP package and 6 submitted proposals. And the evaluation committee recommended to award the contract to Duenas Camacho and Associates. The resolution is requesting approval for the proposal in the amount of $3,119,377. And at this time, the resolution seeks to just award a portion of the fee of that proposal of $1.5 million. The project's going to be funded by US EPA grants, and then additional US EPA funds should be available in subsequent years for the rest of it.
Discussion, motion?
Motion to approve GWA Resolution 20-FY 2023.
Second? Second, Commissioner Martinez. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes and 1 abstention.
Project, very good project.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next resolution is 22-FY 2023, and this is relative to the approval of additional funding for the construction contract for the tank repair and bypass. This project's part of the remaining 2011 federal court order project to repair and replace our water storage reservoirs. The objective of this request is perform major repairs on the 500,000 gallon Gpwa Marizo tank. Repairs will include tank floor replacement, roof purlin, rafter replacement, new interior and exterior coatings, and other miscellaneous replacements. This project was an additive bid item as part of the contract awarded to AIC International back in 2019. The first resolution approved $5.9 million. The next authorization was added an additional $5.71 million, bringing the total value of the contract to $11.65. The additional work required for this additive project is $1,308,687. So management is seeking to increase the total contract authorization to $12,959,654, and also to approve the additional funding for the Gpwa Marizo.
There a motion?
Yeah, sure. Motion to approve
Motion to
resolution
approve.
number 22-FY 2023.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries with 4 aye votes.
Chair. Next resolution is 23-FY 2023. This is relative to the approval of the amendment for an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, professional utility management, and financial consulting services contract. This contract was awarded as part of RFP 2020-01, and it was the first set of work was in the amount of $979,669, and this was to support GWA's 5-year financial plan, which included several analytical studies ordered by the Public Utilities Commission. Resolution 24/2021 increased the amount of the contract, and that was required because of some unforeseen delays and additional work required in the adjudication of that 5-year plan. The objective of this resolution is to increase the contract authorization by an additional $514,986 to fund 6 additional task orders. And they'll provide support for developing and negotiating a GWA Navy Utility Service Agreement, to update the financial planning section of the Water Resource Master Plan, and to integrate the rate model with the 20-year strategic financial plan. These 3 task orders, generally these were handled by Brown and Caldwell, who would then basically subcontract them out to another firm to do these things. The subcontracting of the financial services basically would just add an additional markup on top of the cost that it took to complete those things. So this contract was actually implemented to try to reduce the cost associated with that. The next task order is to develop the FY 2025-2029 5-year financial plan. The PUC, in their earlier orders, required the development of our rate application model that tied together the data from those 7 analytical studies, including a revised rate design structure not used before. Management feels strongly that GWA continue to use that new rate application model, which was created at the direction of the PUC. Additionally, because GWA has not taken over updating that new model, management feels equally as strong that additional support is required to maintain continuity and the ability to meet the PUC filing requirements and deadlines. The next task order, number 11, is to perform additional research and analysis to implement the ongoing comprehensive review and update initiatives. So these are tasks that are still pending on the 7 analytical studies and follow-ups from the earlier rate orders from FY20 and FY23. And the last task order is to refund existing revenue bonds, and this is financial component of the engineering report that is required as part of any bond issuance that we go out. Lastly, management seeking authorization to request or provide any notification to the PUC under the contract review protocol.
Your motion?
I'll make the motion. Motion to approve resolution 23-FY 2023.
Is there a second? Second? Commissioner Sanchez?
So, make sure, so originally Brown and Caldwell found us our rate consultant, right, the Gallardi Group. Now we're taking them out. Did we ever consider bidding out the work just independently?
We did. That's how we found Gallardi and Rothschild. I don't think they were a subcontractor of Brown and Caldwell.
Oh, then I'm confused. I thought you were saying
No.
we're taking out the middleman.
So I think in previous work, Brown and Caldwell would have subcontracted that out, but I don't believe it was to Gallardi and Rothschild.
Yeah.
So what is the reference to
No.
Brown and Caldwell?
I think the reference to Brown Caldwell was our program manager.
For a long time.
Yeah, for a long time. And then we took them out. So when we took them out, then we went and issued a new bid out for these people.
This is how we.
This
got
is how we
Gallardi.
got them. I think the reference was only to kind of identify how we used to do it in the past. Because we had a program management office, which Brown Caldwell was for the longest time with us, and they would be the ones who did it. So, you know, that's why it didn't necessarily come to us, because it was part of their contract. I think that's what Chris was trying to say.
Well,
So in the previous master plan update, there was financial work that was done as a part of that, but
Right.
I don't know who Brown and Caldwell subcontracted to do
well,
that
to be
work.
quite honest with you, me, Greg, and Gilda did almost all the rate cases originally that came out of the master plan, that did the first bond financing. We did that all in-house, right? So that's why I'm a little confused about what Brown and, yeah, they were our PM, but in terms of, we didn't do anything about rate design. So in fairness to the tasking of the Gallardi Group and the PUC's order. The PUC's order, hey, they wanted more sophisticated analysis. And there's the 7 pieces, right? So I was just a little confused because until we got the Gallardi Group, all the rate cases were done in-house. Brown and Caldwell, they did the master plan. They told us what was on the list that would comply with the consent decree, and then from that we built the financial plan basically in-house. We know how to do bond financing. We've been doing it for a long time. We know how to do it from the PUC's point of view. We knew how to do it from our point of view, so we did it. But then at some point, because the PUC said we have these tasks, and it was a much more involved work. Then we put out a separate bid, and that's how we got the Gallardi Group
Right.
to help us, right? And these 7 projects are now approaching $2 million worth of consulting work from the Gallardi Group to create these tools to help us with rate design, and affordability, and the list that's in the resolution.
So you're correct. Tasks 7, 8, 9, and 12, those were the tasks associated with any Brown and Caldwell work where they would have subcontracted it out. The rate design itself was not. So you're correct there.
That's a PUC. That was a separate PUC request.
Correct.
Right. And the PUC gives us rates to pay for this. Right? 'Cause I notice it's coming out of revenues and bond funds. So bonds or revenue, bonds are paid by revenues and costs are paid by revenues. So revenues are paying for this, and it's a $2 million spend of ratepayers' money to generate these products, right? And this is sort of the last piece, right, of the 7 pieces.
Correct.
The estimated cost would take the whole thing up to just under $2 million, and we get that in Are we getting that fully in rate relief now?
So, yes, we have. So the current spend of 1.479 million started in April 2020 as part of a regulatory asset, and it's spread across 3 years. So it would have just completed in March last month.
Oh, the first 1.5 million? Okay.
Correct.
So this would be just another year, I guess, of 500,000? Right, so it's pretty, and that's a pretty small impact on our annual revenues, what, under 10 million or something like that? So it's like less than 0.5% of revenues are going to this rate program ordered by the PUC.
Correct.
Right, and we're in the last year of completing the tasks that the PUC ordered, and the total cost over a 3-year period is approaching $2 million, 1.9, and this, you're just seeking approval of the last 500,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion? No? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. With 4 aye votes, thank you. Next,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the last resolution for consideration is Resolution 24-FY 2023. This is relative to approving fiscal year 2023 proposed budget amendments and rate stabilization fund transfers. This resolution requests to amend the FY 23 budget and to authorize transfers from GWA's Capital Improvement Fund to the Rate Stabilization Fund and increase the amount of the rate stabilization funds authorized to be used for the FY 23 operations budget. The approved FY 23 budget authorized $123.8 million in revenue to support GWA operations and debt service payments. The revenue was comprised of $108.5 million in projected revenues, $12.4 million from the American Rescue Plan Act funds, and $2.9 million from the Rate Stabilization Fund. The approved operating expenses for FY23 is $100.2 million. Currently, operating expenses are projected to be $107.5 million, creating a funding shortfall of $7.3 million. 5.76 of this projection is due to the increase in power expenses, and the remainder is just other inflationary increases to our critical inventory materials and costs. There's currently $3.1 million balance in the rate stabilization fund, of which $1.6 million is still available to be used in FY23. To supplement revenues, management is first requesting to transfer $3.8 million from the Capital Improvement Fund into the Rate Stabilization Fund. And this will result in an RSF balance of $6.8 million. And then management is also requesting to increase the FY23 authorization to use rate stabilization funds from $2.9 million to $8.1 million. This will provide the additional cash flow from the RSF balance of $6.8 million to fund our operations and leave a projected balance of about $100,000. These amendments are necessary and urgent to provide funding to meet operational needs and maintain our debt service coverage at 1.3.
I'm sorry, did we do the motion yet?
yeah. Do we have, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve
Okay, move
Resolution
to
24, FY 2023.
Second, Commissioner Gontalco. Okay, now, go ahead.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. Gilda, how did we fund the rate stabilization fund? Where did we get that 11.4 million? It's on page 101.
That's coming from originally from our working capital debt service reserve. That's the CCU.
And we're allowed to touch that reserve?
Move to, because it's coming from the flow funds, it's allowed to move to rate stabilization fund from the working capital originally reserved.
Okay.
Debt service.
Okay, so when we first started way back, it was, the funds like this would accumulate in the working capital fund.
Correct.
And then we got a little more sophisticated under Miguel's guidance, your work, to create this rate stabilization fund. And we had permission to use that working capital fund, right? It's not a bond issue.
Yes.
We just created a new fund that we are using it now. And for example, there's unexpected costs, or when the rate relief we request isn't granted, or they say not the same amount, or just sort of to keep us operating with whatever the rates are at the time, or, our bill went up in the last 12 months, nobody can do anything about it. That's what this rate stabilization fund has become for us, a tool for us to supplement operational needs when either revenues are short or expenses are above projected.
Correct. Actually, the rate stabilization fund is part of the flow of funds, we call it, from the indenture, and it's allowed through truncated amount. That's first.
But we used to never
priority.
have to transfer from the working capital fund. This is more of a recent phenomenon, in part because the PUC has been a little tougher, I think, to get
Right.
rates out of, right? So we took advantage of the fact that we built up some cash. And the chairman alludes to it also that in the early days when we could fund to 1.75 of our debt service, you know, we could charge the rates and pay the rates for the borrowings to generate that much cash flow. It created a lot of cash flow.
Yeah.
And we're now recognizing 30 years after the PUC first set that standard that that's a pretty nice number, 1.75 debt service coverage. So now they've knocked it down to 1.3, 1.4.
They knocked it down to 1.3.
Yeah.
So it's really tight.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
tight, but in the 20 plus years of borrowing money, the 175 created this bucket of what was 11.4 million over the last couple of fiscal years that we then created the rate stabilization fund and said, let's move that extra money that had been accumulating because we could charge rates at a higher debt service coverage. We took that fund, created this rate stabilization fund, put money in there, and as the chairman is pointing out, now when we borrow money, the PUC sets the rates at only 1.3 coverage instead of 1.75. It's snug, but it's still more than debt service. You know, it's 30% of your debt service on top of your rate. So, yeah, it's tight. But now, but now at 1.3, this money is going to dwindle away.
Yeah,
So
it can. I think it.
Well, it'll be 30% of debt service. So yeah, maybe not. I mean, it'll be a number every
It'll
time
be
we
a
float a
number,
bond.
But as we go forward, I think that the big thing is the fact that when we transition to the rate design, the new rate design, there'll be new components in there. One of the things I remember is that right now, for residential, for example, the sewer is a flat rate, but that's going to go to a volumetric rate. I think that's one of the things I remember from the PUC, you know, the going back and forth between the.
But the 1.3 still will cap
Overall,
overall debt
right.
service coverage that you're allowed in your rates.
Right.
So again, we may get the money differently from different
Right.
people in
That's-
different
that's
ways
it.
because the structure is different.
Correct.
But overall, the cap, we must now plan to run the company with lower debt service coverage,
Got a
which
lot-
means our
a
cushion
lot-
is tighter.
Yeah,
and-
got to be really accurate on what we're doing.
Right.
if I may also mention, what happened is our debt service increased by about 5.6 million from last year this year, and we don't have any rate increase in 2019, and we lost the compounding effect of the rate. And March and 2020, we were approved just for 6 months for the rate to take effect.
So just in March of 20, so
March 2020 was the first after
was the last
2019.
rate increase, right?
No, yeah, 2019 we don't have a rate increase. 2020 we were capped because we were working on this 5 years, and because of the PUC we have some kind of like stagnant on how the rates are approved.
So when was
the
our last?
effectivity was
when
March.
was our last rate increase?
We have the rate
approved by
increase
the
for
At the beginning
we
of
have
this
the
fiscal year,
increases this
Right.
we
fiscal
got
year.
5.5%.
5.5,
Right,
yes,
5.5%.
until
And then
And
2024.
then in 2024.
Subject
the next-
for
another
true-up.
5.5.
24 or
5.5.
October 1 or
October
23?
1st, 2023, which is fiscal year 2024.
Yeah, yeah,
However, it's subject to true up by June 1st.
Right.
We
So
have to
we're,
submit.
and so.
That'll be the last.
The
for
last
5 years.
for
from
this
the,
5
from the
years.
last rate approval.
Yeah, when the five-year
Yes.
rate plan started out, we got 5%, 5%, no increase, 5.5%, 5.5%. That's
And
the
that,
5 years.
this last 5 is subject to true up.
The last
True-up.
5 is
Yeah,
subject to.
but your power bill alone ought to help you
Well,
with the
if
true up.
they're looking forward to the LEAC reduction too.
Yeah, but it's still a big number when you're over budget on the power for the fiscal year.
Yeah.
You have to recover that, even if it's in the next fiscal year. I mean, I think we would have to make that argument that, hey, you under budgeted via rates, you under budgeted the